Good morning, everyone. Today I am going to start with the new chapter, that is preparation of final accounts of companies. See, we are doing our final account from your FYJC, from your 11th standard. We are doing, you all are experiencing final accounts. In the 11th standard, we have done final accounts of sole trading concern, 12th standard, a final account of partnership firm, where in the sole trading, the capital, the amount for business is contributed by only by sole, that is one person who is the owner who contributes the capital. Then we have done partnership final accounts, in which there are minimum two partners, owners, who two or more partners who contribute the capital, and their capital is known as partners capital. Then again, there was manufacturing concern of sole trader, which was similar to your 11th standard final accounts. Then in your SYBCOM, you had partnership final accounts, which was similar to what you had done in your 12th standard. Now in your TY, you have final accounts of companies. In few of the chapters in semester 4 of your SYBCOM, your second year BCom, you have done the chapters where we have used, like for example, redemption of preference shares, conversion of limited company, conversion of partnership into a limited company, redemption of debentures, are some of the chapters where we have done. And even in this, like we have in this internal reconstruction, in this chapters we have done the format of, we have prepared the balance sheet in the company's format. That means you are not, this is not a very new chapter to you all, and final accounts is not at all new. See, whether it be any final accounts, companies, banking companies, final account, insurance, sole traders, partnership, let it be, name it, let it be any final accounts. The basic of the final accounts remains the same. The base you have got from your 11th standard, and that base cannot change. That will remain the same. Only what will change is the presentation, is the format, how you present in front of the public. Because here we are doing in front of the shareholders. Who are shareholders? Because we are here dealing with final accounts of companies, and in the companies the owners are shareholders, because the capital what is required to start a company is divided into many parts, and the single parts, you may say, or you may say units. The capital is divided into many units or parts, and the smallest part or the unit is known as a share. So the owners of the company is known as shareholders, because they purchase those smallest units. They purchase those shares, and they become the holders of those shares, or you may say shareholders of the company. And because they are purchasing the capital, they are the owners. Shareholders are the owners of the company. Here, the presentation here also will remain the same. Not presentation will change, I'm sorry, but the basic will remain the same. The basic of final accounts is the same. You do any type of final accounts, the basic will remain, always will remain the same. So this is applicable. This is see here, we will be doing Schedule 3 to the Companies Act 2013. This is when the act was introduced, to the Act 2013, where the rules and regulations are related, are given, provides the manner. So what act is applicable here? When we are preparing final account of companies, the act applicable is Schedule 3 to the Companies Act 2013. And this act provides a manner in which every company registered under the act shall prepare its balance sheet, statement of profit and loss, and notes thereto. Means the act which is applicable is the Companies Act 2013, and this provides the guideline, the manner in which every company registered under this act shall prepare its balance sheet. What in final accounts, what all comes? We have to prepare balance sheet, we have to prepare statement of profit and loss, and notes to account. Notes to account, you are familiar. So we have already done few sums on balance sheet. We have prepared balance sheet according to the company's format in few of the chapters, where we have also come across notes to account, which briefly describes what has happened in the, to see if in the total this much amount is in share capital, what all items come in the share capital. Detailed explanation of the format is given in the notes to account. Correct? Then here we will be preparing, like till your partnership accounts, you used to prepare the final account in T format. In the T format, horizontal format, but in this chapter, final account of companies, we will be using the vertical format. So the schedule 3 prescribe only the vertical format for presentation of financial statement. So it is compulsory in this chapter that you only follow the vertical format. Thus a company does not have an option to use horizontal format for the presentation of financial statements as prescribed in the original schedule 6. So here we have to compulsorily use the vertical format. Companies cannot use the horizontal format. So it becomes mandatory that we prepare our financial statements using the vertical format. Then why is the final account means the basics remains the same. The year end May, business wants to know that whether it is making a profit or incurring a loss. Correct? Final account is prepared to see, to find out whether the business is making a profit or a loss. So the schedule 3 lays down a format for the presentation of statement of profit and loss. So here we have to prepare two things. One is statement of profit and loss, wherein you will come to know whether the company has made a profit or incurred a loss. And we also prepare the balance sheet. So profit and loss you will come to know from this preparation of final account of companies. And then notes. Notes is a very important part of final accounts of companies, because notes, what do? They break up of items in main financial statement will be shown in the notes. Breakup of items means share capital means breakup may there will be equity share and preferential reserves and surplus. Means in breakup you will see how many reserves the company has. So the breakup of items in main financial statement will be shown in the notes. Earlier we used to refer these notes as schedules. पहले हम क्या करते थे, ये नोट्स टू अकाउंट को शेड्यूल्स बोलते थे, बट अभी हम उसे शेड्यूल्स नहीं, we refer it as notes to account, which gives a breakup of the main financial statement. Breakup of the items in the main financial statement are shown in the notes to account, and we refer to it as notes to account and not schedules, because in previously we used to call it as schedules, but now strictly we call it as notes to account. And now comparatives means what happens in the format of final accounts. We prepare 2 columns for amount. One is for the previous year and one for the current year, to compare the figures of both the years. Only when it's the first year of incorporation, other than, because this is the first year, there will be only column for amount, but after that every time there will be two columns for current year and for previous year. But when we are doing sums here, we will be doing only for the current year. But if you go and you refer or you watch, you see a final account of a company, then you will always find two columns. But here when we are solving the sum, we will be presenting only for the current year. But in actual, if you go and refer to the final accounts of any company, you will find 2 years amounts given, current year and previous year, so that the comparisons can be made at once. आप देखोगे दो साल का अमाउंट दिया है, करंट ईयर का और प्रीवियस ईयर का, तो इजीली comparisons कर सकते हो between the 2 years. What has happened to the profit, what has happened to the share capital, loan fund, in between 2 years you can easily do a comparison. So but when we are doing sums here, we will be doing only for the current year. Previous year amounts are never given, for we never prepare for 2 years, always it will be 1 year of current year. Now the structure, we have two parts. One is part 1, that is known as format of balance sheet, form of balance sheet, and we have part 2, which is a form of statement of profit and loss. So here what we do, we have two formats. One is known as part 1 and the other is known as part 2. So in today's lecture, I will explain you the format of balance sheet, which you will find very familiar because we have already done this format in the previous lectures of other topics when we were doing preferential redemption, when in the same year when we were doing internal reconstruction, the balance sheet what we have prepared is as per the company. So we are already familiar with this format. Still, I'll be explaining this format to all of you. Part 1, form of balance sheet. Part 2, form of statement of profit and loss. So this is format for part 1, form of balance sheet, in which name of the company we write in the top and balance sheet period, balance sheet as on. Okay. So what else is given? See how we prepare in the format. You will see for 2 years. See rupees in whatever it is given, and we prepare particulars, notes to account, and they have given figures as at the end of the current reporting period and figures as at the end of the previous reporting period. In the format, it is given like this, but actually when we will get the sums, it will be only for the current period. It will be only for the current period, but in the format, they have given both the current as well as the previous year figures. But when we will be doing this chapter sums, we will be doing only for the current period. So as I told you, Roman 1, this is the liability side, which we call as equity and liabilities. हम हमारे liability side को कैसे refer करते हैं? Equity and liabilities. And equity means shareholders fund. Equity means what? Equity means shareholders fund. And shareholder के fund में क्या आता है? Shareholders have right on share capital. So our first note to account will be share capital, which has two types: equity share capital and preference share capital. And if there is any arrears, calls in arrears, we will minus it. So share capital, and next one is reserves and surplus. The shareholders have the right on the capital, and shareholders also have the right on the profits of the business, that is reserves and surplus, P&L account, general reserve, capital reserve. All the reserves will come here. All the savings, that is reserves and funds, will come here in reserves and surplus. So we have the second notes to account where we will in detail we will show the breakup कि reserves में क्या क्या चीजें दिया हुआ है, that we will show in the notes. Then money received against share warrant, this is only here in the, बताओ ये जो format है, it is having everything, but हमारे sum में हमें इतना सब चीज नहीं रहेगा. If our money received against share warrant is given, हम reserves and surplus के नीचे लिखेंगे, but 99% time this is not given in the question. And then also share application money pending allotment. Money is there, allotment is pending. Even that is not given. We only have equity में shareholders fund. Equity में हमारे पास सिर्फ shareholder fund होता है. Shareholders fund means what? Shareholders have right on what? Share capital, reserves and surplus. Next one is share application. Sorry. Next we have non-current liability. Liabilities are of two types, non-current liability and current liability. Name itself says non-current means liability which are for a longer period of time. Current means liability which are for a shorter period of time. Normally under non-current liabilities, we have only long-term borrowings. जिसमें हम डिवेंचर, बैंक लोन सब कुछ लिखते हैं. But they have also given deferred tax liabilities. अगर ये दिया है तो हमें देखना पड़ता है कि इसका बैलेंस कौन से साइड में, because you know when trial balance is given, ट्रायल बैलेंस का डेबिट साइड में असेट्स होता है एंड ट्रायल बैलेंस के क्रेडिट साइड में लाइबिलिटीज. इफ डेफर्ड टैक्स लाइबिलिटीज इन द क्रेडिट साइड, देन वी विल राइट इन द liability side, and if it is in the debit side, it is deferred tax assets, so that we will write in the asset column. If it is in the trial balance debit side, asset. If it's in the trial balance credit side, it is liability. Then other long-term liabilities, long-term provision for PF, provident fund, is a long-term provision. It is continued for years. So all those, if it is there, we will say long-term liability. If it is given in the question, it is a long-term liability. And if they say long-term provisions, then it will come here. Then we have current liabilities, liabilities which are for short period of time, which includes short-term borrowings, borrowings which have taken, which the business has taken for short period, like for example, bank overdraft, or loan which is taken from a director. So that will be a short-term borrowings. Trade payable means creditor bills payable. Other current liability, any outstanding expenses, anything is given, it will be other current liability. Then short-term provision may provision for tax, proposed dividend, depreciation provision, etc. will come here. मतलब short term provision में क्या provision हो सकता है? Provision for tax, provision for depreciation, provision for doubtful debts, and we have our proposed dividend, which normally we do not show now as per the changes, we do not show proposed dividend, but normally what all comes, provision for tax, provision for depreciation, provision for doubtful debts, and proposed dividend. These all are short-term provisions. Then liability side में क्या है? In short, अगर हम revise करें तो equity and liability, इसमें equity means shareholders fund, जिसमें share capital, reserves and surplus आते हैं, and then non-current liabilities means non-current liabilities and current liability. Non-current liabilities and current liabilities. Non-current means long-term borrowings, and current may we have short-term borrowings. ट्रेड पेबल्स, क्रेडिटर बिल्स पेबल को ट्रेड पेबल बोलेंगे. शॉर्ट टर्म बोरोइंग्स में बैंक ओवरड्राफ्ट विल कम, या एनी शॉर्ट टर्म बोरोइंग टेकन बोरोड फ्रॉम डायरेक्टर. अदर करंट लाइबिलिटीज में आउटस्टैंडिंग एक्सपेंसेस, एंड short term provision में provision for tax or any other provisions, and proposed dividend will come Now we come to the asset side. This balance sheet we have already done many times. So assets also is divided into two types, non-current asset and करंट असेट. असेट्स को भी हमने दो टाइप्स में क्लासिफाई किया है. नॉन करंट, द नेम itself you will understand these assets are for a longer period of time. Current asset means asset which are in the business for shorter period of time. तो नॉन करंट असेट में सबसे पहले कम्स प्रॉपर्टी प्लांट एंड इक्विपमेंट. दिस इज अवर फिक्स असेट. प्रॉपर्टी फिक्स असेट को अभी हम क्या बोलते हैं? प्रॉपर्टी प्लांट एंड इक्विपमेंट. क्या बुलाते हैं? प्रॉपर्टी प्लांट एंड इक्विपमेंट. सो प्रॉपर्टी प्लांट एंड इक्विपमेंट में there are two types, tangible assets, intangible assets. Tangible assets means assets which can be seen, touched and felt. Intangible means they cannot be seen or touched, only can be felt. Tangible assets में plant and machinery, land and building, vehicle, सारे tangible assets जिसमें depreciation होता है will come. And intangible में goodwill, patents, copyrights etc. will come. In capital work in progress, if there is a construction of a building, वो building को yes, building intangible we cannot touch, we cannot see, we can only feel, is intangible assets. Correct. Now capital work in progress means our tangible assets which are in progress, मतलब ये complete नहीं हुआ. जैसे for example construction of a building is a tangible asset, but वो अभी फिलहाल इन कंस्ट्रक्शन हो रहा है, उसका वो यूज के लिए रेडी नहीं हुआ, तो उसको हम कैपिटल वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस बोल सकते हैं. Then intangible assets under development, patents. हमारा एक रिसर्च लैब है कंपनी का, where patents are getting invented. So if any patent is in the process of development, तो उसको बोलेंगे इंटेंजिबल एसेट अंडर डेवलपमेंट. लेकिन हमारे क्वेश्चन में सिर्फ नॉर्मली सिर्फ टैंजिबल एसेट और इंटेंजिबल एसेट ही होता है. Capital work in progress and intangible asset under development is generally not there. These are the notes to account. यहाँ पे जो आपको ये दिया है ना, A, B, C, D, E, F, G and all, ये जो दिया है ये लोग ने ऐसे हम नंबर्स में लिखेंगे 1 2 3 4, but these people in the format have given it in alphabets. These are the notes to account. हमने प्रॉब्लम्स किया, बैलेंस शीट बनाया इन इंटरनल रिकंस्ट्रक्शन, रिडेम्पशन ऑफ प्रेफरेंस शेयर, उसमें हमने सेम फॉर्मेट यूज किया है. और यहाँ पे ये जो नोट्स टू अकाउंट है, व्हाट इज इट, कि हम यहाँ पे तो सिर्फ शेयर कैपिटल का टोटल लिखेंगे, बट इन द नोट्स वी विल राइट बोथ इक्विटी एंड प्रेफरेंस, एक्सप्लेनेशन ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट, ब्रेकअप ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट. यहाँ पे टैंजिबल एसेट में जे दिया है, तो ये टैंजिबल एसेट का टोटल बैलेंस ये फॉर्मेट में लिखेंगे. एंड नोट में वी विल राइट plant and machinery, land and building, vehicles, whatever tangible assets are given in the question, वो सब one by one लिख के उसका total करके, total we will write here, but when you want to see that what all tangible assets we have, you have to go to the note and check what all कि क्या क्या है. अगर आपको you want to see what all breakup is there, then you have to refer to the notes. So notes यहाँ पे साइड में दिया हुआ है, बट हम लोग नॉर्मली 1 2 3 लिखते हैं. We go give the ordering from 1 to 3, but they have given from A B C D. वही डिफरेंस है. मतलब you can give the notes as A B C D also. Then non-current, then we have in the non-current assets, मतलब long term assets में हमारे पास नॉन करंट इन्वेस्टमेंट भी है. नॉन करंट इन्वेस्टमेंट from the name only you will come to know that these are investments which are there, investments which are there in the business for longer period of time. The government investments, investments in shares, debentures, which are there in the business for longer period of time. जो investment हमने किया है for longer period of time are non-current investment. जैसे मैंने आपको बताया deferred tax assets ऊपर है, deferred tax liabilities. ये normally तो नहीं रहेगा, but अगर रहेगा तो ट्रायल बैलेंस के साइड से तुमको समझ में आएगा. ट्रायल बैलेंस के डेबिट साइड में असेट्स होता है, तो अगर डेबिट साइड में है तो दिस विल कम हियर एज डेफर्ड टैक्स असेट्स. एंड अगर ये ट्रायल बैलेंस के क्रेडिट साइड में है तो दिस विल बी डेफर्ड टैक्स लाइबिलिटीज. एंड वी हैव लॉन्ग टर्म लोन्स एंड एडवांसेस. जो लोन्स एंड एडवांसेस बिजनेस ने दिया है फॉर लॉन्गर पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. सो लोन्स गिवन, एडवांसेस गिवन फॉर अ longer period of time, long term loans and advances. And other non current assets, यहाँ पे हम fictitious assets को दिखा सकते हैं. other non current assets में हम fictitious asset को दिखा सकते हैं. preliminary expense, you know the fictitious assets में क्या आता है. प्रिलिमिनरी एक्सपेंस जो हमने इंटरनल रिकंस्ट्रक्शन चैप्टर में राइट ऑफ करते थे. फिक्टिशियस एसेट, अंडर राइटिंग कमीशन, discount on issuer shares, debentures. तो other non-current asset को, that is fictitious asset, we can write here. and fictitious asset को यहाँ पे लिखते हैं तो हम उसको लॉन्ग टर्म नेचर का मानते हैं तो इधर लिख सकते हैं. बट वी हैव वन मोर कैटेगरी विच इज नोन एज करंट असेट्स, नॉन करंट असेट एंड करंट असेट. करंट असेट में करंट इन्वेस्टमेंट होता है, मींस इन्वेस्टमेंट विच आर देयर इन द बिजनेस फॉर शॉर्टर पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. जो हमने शॉर्ट टर्म इन्वेस्टमेंट्स किया है विल कम अंडर करंट इन्वेस्टमेंट. इन्वेंट्री मींस स्टॉक. Inventory means what? Inventory means stock. Trade receivable means debtors and bill receivable. Note to account में अगर दोनों है, debtor भी bill receivable भी, तो notes to account में लिख के फिर total इधर लिख सकते हैं. Then we have cash and cash equivalent. Cash and cash equivalent में cash in hand, cash in bank, everything we will write. Then we have short term loans and advances. तो यहाँ पे हम लिख सकते हैं प्रीपेड एक्सपेंसेस, शॉर्ट टर्म लोन्स गिवन, शॉर्ट टर्म एडवांसेस गिवन, यहाँ पे आ जाएगा. और यहाँ पे देखो लास्ट में वी हैव अदर करंट असेट. मीन्स मैंने जो बोला ना फिक्टिशियस असेट्स, वी कैन राइट इन अदर नॉन करंट असेट. also we can write in other current asset. दोनों जगह नहीं लिख सकते. या तो you write the fictitious asset in other non-current asset, assuming it to be of long-term nature. या तो आप fictitious asset को other current asset में भी लिख सकते हो. Then also it is correct. We assume it to of short-term nature. and preliminary expense, underwritten commission, ये सबको सारे fictitious assets को आप other current asset में भी लिख सकते हो. Both is considered to be correct, but your assumption will be other non-current asset में लिखा तो it is of long-term nature, and other current asset में लिखा तो we assume the fictitious asset to be of short-term nature, और हम other current asset में दिखा सकते हैं. सो अगेन टू रिवाइज, असेट्स में क्या है, नॉन करंट असेट है, मींस असेट विच आर ऑफ लॉन्ग टर्म नेचर, जिसमें हम प्रॉपर्टी प्लांट एंड इक्विपमेंट लिखते हैं. प्रॉपर्टी प्लांट एंड इक्विपमेंट जनरली टू टाइप्स हम नॉर्मली क्वेश्चन में आता है तो टू टाइप्स ही लिखेंगे, टैंजिबल, intangible. But if capital, work in progress and intangible assets under development, which generally are not given, see this format is very like it is having everything. This format is exhaustive, it is having everything. तो ये फॉर्मेट में हर एक चीज दिया हुआ है, बट वो जब हम सम्स करेंगे तो उतना सब चीज नहीं रहेगा, लिमिटेड ओनली विल बी देयर. So here tangible assets, intangible asset, capital, work in progress means our tangible assets which are in construction, intangible assets under development मतलब हमारा intangible asset जो develop हो रहा है, फिर नॉन करंट इन्वेस्टमेंट विच आर ऑफ लॉन्ग टर्म नेचर, डेफर्ड टैक्स एसेट। तो ये अगर ट्रायल बैलेंस के डेबिट साइड में है तो डेफर्ड टैक्स एसेट, ट्रायल बैलेंस के क्रेडिट साइड में है तो डेफर्ड टैक्स लाइबिलिटी। फिर लॉन्ग टर्म लोन्स एंड एडवांसेस, अदर नॉन करंट एसेट्स। नॉर्मली ये डेफर्ड टैक्स, लॉन्ग टर्म लोन्स एंड एडवांसेस, अदर नॉन करंट एसेट्स विल नॉट बी देयर मैक्सिमम टाइम्स। फिर करंट असेट में करंट इन्वेस्टमेंट, if investment is of current nature, short term nature, inventories means stock, trade receivable means debtor bill receivable, cash and cash equivalent means cash in hand, cash at bank, short term loans and advances which are for a shorter period. फिर अदर करंट एसेट में ऐसा ही टोल यू हम फिक्टिशियस एसेट अदर नॉन करंट एसेट में भी लिख सकते हैं अज्यूमिंग इट टू ऑफ लॉन्ग टर्म नेचर, एंड अदर करंट एसेट में भी लिख सकते हैं अज्यूमिंग इट ऑफ शॉर्ट टर्म नेचर। एंड फाइनली यू विल सी द टोटल ऑफ द liability, that is equity and liabilities, रोमन 1 इक्विटी एंड लाइबिलिटीज का टोटल और असेट्स का टोटल विल मैच, दैट मीन्स द बैलेंस शीट एज टैलीड। जब हम इन दोनों का टोटल निकालेंगे तो वी विल फाइंड आउट दैट द टोटल इज same, total is equal, total is tallying, and then we can say our balance sheet tallied. This is the format of balance sheet, and we will ask, because it is time is up, so profit and loss account ka format I will explain in the next lecture. Profit and loss account format I will explain in the next lecture. And with this explanation of form of balance sheet part 1, I end today's lecture. Thank you very much everyone.